Good evening. I'm the Reverend Derek Van Goulden. I'm the pastor here at the First Congregational Church of Rockport, the old sloop, which has always been, from its start, also the meeting house for the colony here and for the community. So welcome. Welcome here to this meeting, this informational gathering about, I guess what we're calling AAA, allies of our Afghan allies. And we thank you from the bottom of our heart for coming out tonight to listen, to hear, to volunteer if you wish, to sign up, which you'll hear more about that coming up. We thank you all for wearing your masks and being distanced. This is a big space, and we appreciate that. Before we begin, a couple things. If you need a restroom, through this door to my right, you go through another door, then another door. It's very short. You're going to come to a big room. You're going to go straight across through a pair of French doors, and you will see the women's room straight in front of you, and the men's is around to the right. And feel free to get up and go when you need to. At the end of this program, we're going to ask you to put your volunteer sign-up forms, which they're in the middle of the sanctuary on a table. There's a basket in the very back, and we ask you to drop them in the basket. For those of you who are joining us live streaming, there are ways, I believe, for them to get the... No. There is no way for you to get the volunteer thing. But I also want to invite you that whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, you can talk to us, or at least you can send a message through either one of those, and we have somebody in the other room, Reverend Rona Tyndall, who will be responding to those, or at least taking down your questions and your names if you wish to volunteer that way. There's much work to be done, and it takes a lot of people, it takes a community. Before we go any farther, because this is a church, I want to open us with a prayer for peace, which I think is needed any day in these times, but especially in the work that we're all about to embark on. Would you join me? On this day, Holy One, known by so many different names by many, and by no name by some, we ask you to bless us and bless the work we do. In peace, Shanti, Salam, Shalom, peace be with each and every one of us in this work and all that we do. Thank you.
It's wonderful to see so many of you here, and thank you for attending, whether you're in person or online, about the resettlement of Afghans on Cape Ann. As Reverend Derek said, we're calling ourselves AAA. And we especially like to thank Mayor Safathia Romeo Tangan for visualing and mobilizing this effort. 2 months ago, she got together a small group of people to explore the feasibility of resettling Afghans on Cape Ann. And the members of the group were, of course, the mayor, the chief administrative officer, Frank Cousins, the chief assistant administrative officer, Chris Sikaranza. And other people that were included were David Holden from the Gloucester, executive director of the Gloucester Housing Authority, former Mayor Bruce Toby and his daughter, Dr. Dana Toby, the Reverend Rona Tyndall, who's here with us tonight handling technology. She is pastor of the West Gloucester Congregational Church. And the Reverend Janet Parsons, who's pastor of the First Unitarian Universalist Church in Gloucester. You've already met Reverend Derek Van Goulden, who is our host this evening of the First Congregational Church. And you will meet Reverend Alice Erickson. She is a retired UCC minister and a former director of refugee resettlement both in Tennessee and in Massachusetts. And I am Barbara Kaplan, and I am a member of the Essex County Community Organization, ECHO, which is a social justice group that works across the North Shore. And I'm also a member of Temple Chavad Achim in Gloucester. In the next few minutes, we're going to be hearing from people who will be giving us information this evening. Nisha Suarez is the Director of Constituent Services at Congressman Seth Moulton's office. And she's going to explain to us why are the Afghans being resettled in the U.S. and where are they now and what is their status. Then we will hear from Margine Perot, who is the Director of the Resettlement of Catholic Charities, Archdiocese of Boston, CCAB. And that is the resettlement agency who will be guiding us through this whole process. Then we will hear from Reverend Alice Erickson about what is it we're going to need to do to prepare for the arrival of the Afghans on Cape Ann. And after these presentations, there will be time both for the in-person people and the tech people to ask questions and have their questions answered. But if you don't get yours answered, please, you have our email, get in touch with us. We will definitely get back to you and answer any questions you have. So, right now, let's see, we are going to hear from Nisha, the Director of Constituent Services at Congressman Moulton's office.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have to wear my mask when I'm talking?
No, you don't have to.
Okay, thanks. I'm not an anti-masker, it's just hard to talk. And also, I've never spoken up in this type of platform before. I'm not a very much public speaker, as you can tell by my English. But anyway, I'm Nisha. I'm the Director of Constituent Services for Congressman Seth Moulton. I am really grateful to be here tonight. I'm grateful for all of you for taking time out of your evenings. I'm grateful to everybody in Gloucester, Rockport, whole Cape Ann, especially Barbara and Alice, who has been absolutely wonderful from the jump, really energized. And thank you. I mean, I don't know if David Holden is here tonight, but David Holden has been absolutely wonderful as well as Mayor Savathia, Bruce Toby, and Rona. And thank you also, Rona, for everything you're doing from the back. So again, I'm Nisha. I'm from Congressman Moulton's office. And I'm the Director of Constituent Services, and a lot of people don't really know what that means, but most times I'm just answering the phones, trying to help individuals with their individual cases with the Department of State and Department of Homeland Security, because I do immigration casework. On August 14th of 2021, I had a little over 200 individual cases. I've been the immigration caseworker at Seth's office for about 3 years, and that was, 2.5 years of Trump. That was a travel ban, that was kids in cages, that was a gutted State Department, that was a gutted asylee process, depleted levels of refugee admissions, so on and so forth. You all know, because you're here, you're educated, you know what we went through. And it is that State Department, it is that Homeland Security, and it's that government that had to deal with the fallout of Afghanistan. It was President Trump who led the talks with the Taliban outside of any Afghan government consultation, really. And it was President Biden's State Department that had been depleted under the former president that had to really help individuals get out of Afghanistan. In a lot of circumstances, it felt like it was our office versus everybody. As I mentioned, I had 200 immigration cases on August 14th, and on August 16th, I had over 1,000 individuals from Afghanistan who were trying to get out just to get their families to safety. I had individuals who were telling me that they wish that their children could get through the gates, even if it meant their own life was at risk. We were working 24/7 trying to get individuals just through those gates, literally through the gates. We would deal with the manifesting, deal with the flights after. I didn't serve in the military, but my boss did, obviously, and some of our staff members did as well. And they felt like it was they were right back in it. Seth didn't serve in Afghanistan, he served in Iraq, but he also brought an interpreter over on the SIV program that again was depleted under the former president, and that really caused so many delays and backlogs and contributed to a chaotic evacuation in August of 2021. So one particular story really stands out to me as somebody who didn't serve and has never been to Afghanistan, is not an immigrant themselves. I had over, again, 1,000 cases on the first 24 hours. After those 2 weeks, we had 4,500 individuals. We still are working with a majority of them. Many did not get out. There was not the resources, there were not the capacity, and it was very, very challenging, even for a member who physically went there and found contacts on the ground that we were able to use to our advantage to get individuals to safety. So this one situation is a special immigrant visa case that came to us through a constituent of Marblehead who had served with the interpreter in Afghanistan at Bagram, and who just said out of the blue, they're being hunted. This family is being hunted. It was a father, his wife, and their 4-year-old daughter. And I'm still talking with them. We got them out on August 27th through one of the last missions to go into the airport, having to get them to a gas station, coordinate with the Marines on the ground, and then into the airport, at which time they got onto one of those big planes that you guys probably all saw, where individuals were lined up just sitting on the ground to Qatar. That then went to Germany, Ramstein, and they're still in New Jersey at an Air Force base. I'm sorry, at a military base in New Jersey. And I texted them actually as I was walking in, just to check in, because this is personal for me, it's personal for Seth, and it's personal for everybody in our office. And we know it's personal for all of you, or else you wouldn't be here tonight. And so this family of 3 individuals, it's only 3 individuals of 4,500 people. There's a little girl, she's 4 years old, and all she wants is a pink bed with white trim and a unicorn, a stuffed unicorn. And so I got a picture from her uncle who lives in Louisiana of the biggest unicorn stuffed animal that I've seen. And he said, mission accomplished. And that was when she was brought to New Jersey. So these are individual lives that you are all going to be impacting in some way, shape, or form. If you house them in your home, if you see them at Stop and Shop or at Market Basket, no matter what, their lives have been completely upended. They're going to be grateful, but it's not going to be easy for them, and we shouldn't expect a lot from them. We should, as we're doing tonight, step up for these individuals, be with them, stand with them, support them as much as we can. And I'm here to just say there's a lot of people that were left behind. Even this one family of 3 individuals has siblings that were still left behind, and they're nervous for them and their safety. This was a lot of trauma that every person went through. And I think I'm just grateful for my boss and the ability to do this work. I'm grateful for all of you and the constituency that I served. And I think that's all I'm going to say for tonight, because I feel like I've gone on forever. But I just, again, I'm grateful for you all, and thank you for the time. And thank you, all of you, for putting this together. And hello. All right, and have a good night. I'll be here.
Thank you so much, Nisha. So now I'm very happy to welcome someone who traveled a bit of a distance in traffic. Margine Perot, Director of Resettlement at Catholic Charities, the Archdiocese of Boston.
Thank you all so much. It is always wonderful to follow my new friend Nisha, who we've been doing a couple of these.
The techies have requested.
Okay. Oh, too loud or too quiet?
No, it was too quiet.
I'm usually too loud. But thank you very much. Thank you, Reverend Alice, and all of you wonderful folks who are here today from, I understand, Gloucester and Rockport. And I love coming up to this part of the state, if you will, from lovely Malden, although today I came from South Boston, so I do apologize for being a few minutes late, and I didn't have a chance to hear the opening, but it's a real honor to be among you all today, and it's an honor because I'll be able to talk to you about some of the Afghan families that Nisha and other colleagues like her helped to escape from Afghanistan and then come here to Massachusetts. So again, my name is Margine Perot. I'm with Catholic Charities, and we are based in many locations here in Northeast Massachusetts. Some of you might know we have a small food pantry in Gloucester and a lot of wonderful support from the Fisherman's Fund, so I really appreciate that, for that ongoing support. But the work that I do is in refugee resettlement. And so, as many of you are here today to talk about the Allies of our Afghan Allies, which I love that title. We have a lot of community groups coming together to do what we're calling community sponsorship. And for us that do this in a parish, in a Catholic parish, we call it the POWER program. So you might hear me reference community sponsorship, POWER interchangeably, and they are interchangeable. It's basically a group such as you all coming together to help prepare for and welcome, and then help provide services for an Afghan family that will be assigned to Catholic Charities. So right now, we have received 33 individuals from Afghanistan. And these were all people that were fortunate enough to make it on one of those few flights. When we think about it, very few flights for hundreds of thousands of people that needed safety. But these are the ones that were able to get on a flight and travel through multiple countries. I actually am learning about the number of bases and allies we have overseas from hearing the story of our Afghans as to how they made it to the base, to one of the 8 bases where we are hosting Afghans temporarily. So, and Nisha, I apologize if Nisha already gave you these figures, but from what we have learned, there's about 54,000 Afghans who still need to be moved off base. We've had 33. We hope to have 150 and possibly more. Right now, the government is trying to move people quickly off of certain bases because it's getting very cold and the bases aren't equipped for families during the winter. So right before as I was driving up, I was getting a bunch of arrival notices for people that I had just said yes to 3 days ago are now coming Monday. So it's moving quickly, but there's definitely precedent for this, especially now that we've been doing it a whole 2 months. So this operation is a lot different in some ways than what we do normally to resettle refugees. So refugees from other parts of the globe, Syria, Congo, Eritrea, Cuba, Guatemala. So this is a little different in that it is much faster. Our families are coming directly out of a war zone. There is a lot of trauma. So the families that we've been able to resettle have a lot going on. And as you heard Nisha mention, everybody has somebody back home. There are too many people left back home that weren't able to make that flight. Maybe they were elderly, or maybe they were disabled, or there was young children. They couldn't make it through that melee to get on a flight. So all of our families are carrying that pressure. We call it that survivor's guilt in a way, right? One of our younger couples that came a couple weeks ago and is now at the House of Peace in Ipswich, which is one of our long-standing partners. When I went to talk to him for the first intake, his first question to me was, how do I get money to my family back home? They're in Jalalabad. It's terrible. The Taliban has taken over there. How can I get money back home? And I'm perplexed. I can tell them how to sign up for SNAP, but I'm not sure how you move money, especially when the economy is somewhat closed. But those are the kind of questions that our clients have. And they are, you know, they're living this out with their families who are back home. So I say this to give you a sense of what the families might be experiencing when they arrive. At the same time, they're very thankful, very eager to share what they did to help America. And we keep telling them, that's okay, we're here to help you regardless of what you did. Because we are, right? We welcome people regardless of what they did for us. We welcome because that's what we do. And so, you know, most of our families do have some exposure or have been working with the military, but some might not have. And they were somehow able to get out. So by the grace of God, these people are now here. We don't have very much information on the families when they come. And so normally we would get information about maybe a little bit about their medical history, their education, their jobs. We might know if the children went to school or if the parents speak if anybody speaks any English. But with this group, because it's such a crisis situation, we have none of that info. And I think these sites that we're working with now think I'm lying or that I'm crazy or I can't read because they're like, what do you mean you don't know if they speak English? I'm like, I don't have that information. We're getting their name, how old they are, and what base they're at, and their gender, and that's about it. And we're knowing if they wanted to go to Boston or if they wanted to go to another place. So very little information will come to us. So this is, again, that's what makes it a lot different because it's harder to prepare. We do know if women are pregnant, for the most part, although we had somebody that came the other day, she's 4 months along, and nobody told us. But anyway, we know now, right? So she's getting her prenatal care. But there are a lot of pregnancies. There were 7,000 women that arrived to the base pregnant, and out of that 7,000, 3,000 were in their third trimester. And so I'm seeing some babies with birth dates of like 9/29, which was, you know, when they arrived, or October 1st. So we do have some really little ones. So far, our youngest is 2 months old. It's wonderful in a way that she'll be in a safe country, but also kind of sad that she'll never probably get to see her own country. But that's where having a community around and wrapping your arms around these families does make all the difference. And so what does the resettlement look like? Most of the sites that we have, and we would consider your group, you know, Gloucester, Rockport, a community sponsor site, help to find an apartment, or 2 or 3, depending on how many families you're going to be able to take. You furnish the apartment. You know, if a lease is required, usually a member of the group is co-signing the lease so that when the family comes, then they can sign the lease after we've explained what it is and worked out what that means. And then a few people will help come to the airport with us and help greet the family and bring them back to the apartment that you found and furnished. And somebody will have hopefully made a warm meal that looks familiar to them. We don't all have to become experts in Afghan cuisine, but, you know, maybe a rice and some halal chicken or, you know, some halal lamb would be a nice meal to have ready for them, and stocking the cupboards with a week's worth of groceries or more. And Catholic Charities does have guides for this. We are going to get them to you guys. I've been saying this now for a month and a half. We're revising them, but it's kind of hard to do a lot of that paperwork when you're in the midst of being at the airport and picking people up and making sure they have a place to go. But we will get you some of those particulars. And then once the family is here, they are going to be eligible for public benefits such as cash assistance. It's called TAFDC in Massachusetts, Transitional Aid for Families with Dependent Children, and for SNAP, so your food stamps. Luckily, SNAP now is very generous here in the Commonwealth, and so people will get a decent amount of SNAP benefits. It all depends on your family size as to how much you receive. And with the cash assistance, we do expect our clients to pay about 70% of that cash assistance toward their rent. So it might sound harsh, like, oh my gosh, these people just got here, they don't have anything, but we are very much committed to the idea of self-sufficiency. And so in this, it does work. It's hard. Sometimes it's tough love. But if people are in an apartment where the rent is due, and not everybody is. Some people are in free apartments, which is amazing. Or maybe reduced rate apartments, or free for 6 months. And so if you folks can come up with that phenomenal. They can save a little bit of their cash assistance. That's not required, but that's a great thing to replicate. But, we will work with the family. That won't be your responsibility, but that's something we will do to help them understand, we do have to pay for certain things here. The families will also be eligible for the full Mass Health benefit. So we call that Mass Health Standard. And that benefit is retroactive to the date they arrive. So if they don't have their physical Mass Health card at arrival and they have to go to the doctor, we say you can take them to the doctor, tell the doctor it's a self-pay, private pay to bill, and then we're able to take that bill and get it retroactively paid by Mass Health. Health has been, an issue that has come up. So confusion about Mass Health. We're trying to get some better way to explain it to our partners on, how long it takes, because these benefits don't just happen overnight. And especially with everybody being remote, workers being remote, it is a little harder and takes a little longer to access benefits like SNAP, like TAFDC cash, and like Mass Health. These Afghans will have work authorization. So everybody is authorized to work. They will need a Social Security card. Both the Social Security card and the work authorizations get mailed to Catholic Charities. These are significantly delayed. And I know I've already talked with Nisha about this before, and the government is trying to speed it up, but it's a long story, I'll spare you. But I will say 30,000 Social Security cards were in kind of a limbo place until 2 weeks ago. So we hope we'll start getting some socials soon. But but it's not a bad thing if people are waiting, a month, 6 weeks to start working. The clients will be super eager to work because why? They're super eager to earn money to send home. And so that pull is real. Normally, we're very tough on that. Like, no, you need to save your money, And I broke down the other day to one of my clients. I totally broke down. I said, okay, fine. If you want to send your welcome money there, I'm just don't tell me, but go ahead. Because we try to say, save. You need to pay for things here, but this guy's watching his family starve, back home. I guess that's kind of the benefit of cell phones and also the negative, right? So as much as possible, though, we do encourage people to save and hold on to their money because there is going to be a time where they have to be completely on their own. We are, so the EAD, the work authorization, we call it EAD, and socials are taking a little longer than we would like. But again, every week something is changing with that. So hopefully, tomorrow when I have my weekly update with our Washington office, we might hear more things are flowing faster. Everybody is here on a legal status. I hate using that word because we don't believe any person is illegal, but I know that's a question a lot of people have. So they're here on humanitarian parole. They're able to stay in that status for 2 years. Some have applied for a special immigrant visa. Those cases are kind of on pause while they get settled. And then probably in months 9 to 12, we'll start working on moving them toward getting a green card. But right now, there's not a need to rush that. There's no real benefit at this point to make that fast for them, so they can work and they can be here for up to 2 years at a minimum with parole status. And they're eligible for all the same benefits that a refugee would be, which was really important. And thanks to a lot of help from Representative Moulton and his staff, we were able to get that into the continuing resolution in the end of September. So government in action working, it was a huge win. I think I'm gonna wrap it up by saying we would love if you guys could make a 12-month commitment to a family. Families are kind of assigned as they arrive and as people are ready with housing. So I mentioned we've got 8 now arriving on Monday. We have one congregation has an apartment ready for 5. Okay, that 5 is going there. And then we're still looking for some housing for the others. But so as soon as apartments are ready to go, meaning ready to move in, we would put that on our list saying this is an option. As we get the arrival notice, boom. What is the timeline between arrival and case assignment? Sometimes it's a week. Sometimes it's more. I've got some cases that have been waiting for a month, and I'm surprised they haven't traveled. But there's no rhyme or reason as to when people are traveling. So I will pause because I I forgot to check the time. But I'm happy to answer more questions.
Are you willing to say something about the vetting process?
Oh, sure. Yeah, so thank you. So the vetting process. So all of the folks have been vetted before they even enter or step on our soil, right? So they've been on our bases overseas, but they are fully vetted with the very similar process that refugees go through. And then once they are here again, they are being vetted as well. There's a whole battery of security clearances and screenings they have to go through. And if there's any suspicion, everything is stopped. I'll give you an example of that in action. I was very concerned about a young woman and her husband who was here. I didn't feel like he was being very welcoming toward his wife coming here, especially from my experience with Afghan men who are extremely proud of women and protective of the women and their families and especially their wives. And he was very flippant about it. And I raised my hand the day before they were going to arrive. I said, I'm not comfortable with this. Now I'm talking about vetting of relationship, right? Not necessarily the security background, but that was taken very seriously, and the case was re-interviewed, and we figured that out. She didn't end up arriving, but I just want to point out that there is a lot of vetting going on, and people go through biometric screenings, so iris scan, fingerprint scans. All of their names are run through all international and domestic databases. I can say from working with refugees for over 26 years, we've probably resettled over a couple thousand refugees by now, and everybody's heavily vetted. We, praise God, have not had any issues from refugees from all over the globe. I usually say, if somebody wanted to come here as a refugee and was, a terrorist in disguise, they'd be waiting a heck of a long time and have to go through a lot of background checks. It's not easy to just enter and get this type of status, this humanitarian parole, and they've been on base. So they've been on our bases since August, the end of August. All of them have. So after August 30th, there weren't more flights coming in. So they're vetted. COVID vaccines, I should have mentioned that too, is that yes, everybody will have had at least one dose of COVID, but we don't know until they get here where they're at with the second dose. Some are getting J&J, some are getting Pfizer and Moderna. It's a toss-up, and we don't get that info prior to them arriving. But everybody is practicing precautions, masks. We are strongly encouraging community groups to please mask and use precautions. It's perfectly fine once they get here and you see their vaccine card, if they can go right to CVS and get a second dosage. There's no need to have insurance or anything for that nature. So. And so far, thank God, we haven't had any people arrive with very serious medical issues yet, but that could always change. One thing with this work is it's never stable. It's constantly changing. So I'm always careful to give absolutes. But was there anything else you wanted me to address? No? Okay, great, thank you. And so I'll be here and happy to answer more questions when that's appropriate. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Margine, for that comprehensive explanation. And now Reverend Alice Erickson is going to continue talking about what we all need to do to get ready.
Good evening. As Barbara said, I'm Alice Erickson, and what she didn't say is that I am the person who is guilty of sending you a storm of emails. Thank you, though, for putting up with that and responding so positively. In fact, the response of the Cape Ann community to the plight of the Afghans is very gratifying, very uplifting, and I'm quite grateful. Thank you also for your support of allies of our Afghan allies, and for taking the time to attend this meeting tonight in person or online. I especially want to thank Mayor Safatia Romeo-Tankin, the Mayor of Gloucester, for encouraging Cape Ann to respond to the Afghan crisis And I want to thank the First Congregational Church of Rockport, Derek Van Goulden, and his techies, his savvy techies, who are back, in fact, with Rona Tyndall in a little room right back here, monitoring all of the online activity, and there is quite a bit of online activity tonight. And I'd like to thank Barbara Kaplan for moderating the meeting. I joined this effort because of my past experience directing refugee resettlement programs, including resettling Afghans. I also serve as the treasurer of the West Gloucester Trinitarian Congregational Church, United Church of Christ, the church with the longest name in the history. And that church has offered to, our church has offered to be the fiscal agent for this endeavor. It is my great pleasure to announce that as of this evening, donations to the Gofundme site, Allies of Our Afghan Allies, plus donations that have been sent directly to the church for this cause, now total a little bit over $10,000. Thank you, everyone. This is a very good start in meeting our goal of $50,000. So I ask that you please share the GoFundMe site with as many people as you know. Please keep the site alive and active, because we need to have as much funding as possible to pay the rent for as long as possible, as well as other basic needs. And I also want to thank Lori Fenton. I don't know if she's here tonight, but Lori helped to set up the GoFundMe site. And I must say that I could not have done it by myself, so I very much appreciated her help. We have heard wonderful presentations this evening from Nisha Suarez, the Director of Constituent Services at Congressman Moulton's office, and from a wonderful presentation from Margene Perot, the Director of Refugee Resettlement for Catholic Charities, Archdiocese of Boston. I'd also like to recognize Philip Degatti, who is here, who also works at Catholic Charities. I thought he was over, right? No? Yes? Anyway, he's not here. I thought he was over in this area someplace. He is a very important person in the process. I thought he was coming. No, okay. Okay. And there have been many other people who have been involved in this process all along, and especially Veteran Affairs, our own Cape Ann Veteran Affairs, and we're very grateful to your participation and I'm sure your support of the veterans and their connection with the Afghans who are coming in. Thank you. So what are our next steps? What is our action plan? If you happen to pick up a paper, some of the papers that are sitting on this little table, you'll have time to if you haven't done so already. But after I speak and before our question and answer period, I would ask you to go and pick up the papers that are on the little table there, and I will explain to you what they are. There is an explanation of the various areas in which we need volunteers. There is a half page, which is a sign-up sheet if you are willing to volunteer in a particular area. And there is a CORI request form, which I will explain. So there are many moving pieces to the resettlement effort. The scaffolding for this effort is compassion, communication, and coordination. Compassion. You would not be here tonight if you didn't have compassion. We need to remember, however, that we are not being asked to manage the lives of the Afghans. We are here to help them briefly so that they can get on with their lives. The acronym for our effort, Allies of our Afghan Allies, is AAA. And like AAA, we offer a little bit of assistance to get people back on the road to a better future. Communication. Given that we have so many different tasks to accomplish, and many people who are going to be giving of their time and talent, communication, between and among us is vitally important. Effective communication will be the primary role of the director of this effort. Remember, it's a short-term effort, but we do need to have someone who says, I'll be willing to help with that communication process. It's something I like to do, I want to be doing that. The director will ensure that there is good communication and that we do not duplicate efforts, and that we keep informed of any special needs that arise. Coordination. We've identified a number of teams that will take responsibility for certain areas of the resettlement process. We've identified 14 areas. There could be more, there could be less. It's hard to tell at this point. The areas are communication, donations, education, employment, entertainment, finance, food and nutrition, housing, IT, legal, medical, transportation, social services, and spiritual. Inevitably, there will be overlap among these areas. Each of those teams will have a point person, a coordinator, who will work with the team members, the other coordinators, and the director to ensure that all are on the same page. Please read the handout provided this evening, which describes the various teams and their responsibilities, and decide where you would like to concentrate your volunteer time. You can place these forms in the basket as you are leaving, and we will go through them and then get back to you with a list of who's on your team, and hopefully some of you will self-identify as the coordinator for a specific team. If you are online and listening and wish to volunteer and have not received in an email, the volunteer sign-up sheet, please let us know by emailing me, and Rona will provide that. Rona Tyndall, who's monitoring the chat room, will provide my email address to you if you request it. Because we don't want to overwhelm the Afghans, and because we want to protect their privacy, not everyone will have direct contact with the families, at least not at this point, maybe in the future at some point. Those who do have direct contact will need to be quarried. I have with me tonight, they're on the table as well, quarry request forms. QURI stands for Criminal Record Offender Information. We are asked to do this, we are required to do this for the protection of the Afghans. If you plan to work directly with families, please complete a QURI form, bring it to me, and show me a photo ID, preferably a driver's license. Be sure to include on the form a way to contact you with the results, because I need to get back to you as soon as I have the results. It does not take very long for them to be processed, usually less than a day. I will then get back to you, but I must speak with you personally and not anyone else about the results. The QURI process is confidential. Only you, the applicant, and I will know the results of the quarry. I just want to make sure everybody understands that. It is very confidential. Finally, I want to mention that we have no guarantee that the families who settle on Cape Ann will remain here, though it is hard for me and perhaps for you to imagine why anyone would ever want to leave this beautiful area. It is a bit addictive. Some of the Afghans may in the future decide to move to other parts of the country to join family and friends or because of employment opportunities. Others who resettle here may have family and friends who wish to come here to join them. I ask that we please respect and support their decisions as they would ours if we were in their shoes. Finally, I want to say again, thank you so very, very much for what you are doing and for what you will be doing. It makes such a difference to this community and to this world, and that to have this kind of positive turnout and support. And I hope that you will enjoy this process, even if there are moments when you're perplexed or challenged. I hope overall it will be a wonderful experience for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alice. And if anyone has any questions at this point, raise your hand, please, and you can come up to that mic so we can all hear it. I will point out and call you. Yes?
Barbara, remind them to get the forms.
Yes. In the middle?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're in the middle.
Mm-hmm. And also, while people are coming up to ask a question, if you haven't picked up a form, you can just quietly do that as well.
My name is Melanie Murray Brown, and I am here representing St. John's Church in Gloucester. We had the privilege of working with families that were settling here a few years ago. Sorry, this is really short. I'll do that. There we go. I had a question about kind of looking back at the process a few years back, and just wondered if there's been any outreach to any of the families who have settled here in Gloucester or Cape Ann at large, to just ask about some advice on how we did last time, what we could do better. I know translation services were a massive problem. So that's my general question. Thanks, Alice.
Thank you, Melanie. Is anyone here who was directly working with the families that arrived here? Yes, Melanie, yeah. There were, about 3 years ago, there was a Syrian family and an Afghan family that was literally dumped in Gloucester. They arrived, they were put in an apartment, and it was not a reputable resettlement agency that provided their support or lack thereof. At the same time, there was a very large extended Congolese family. They may have been in the refugee camp in Congo, in the Republic of Congo, but anyway, very, very big family. People in Gloucester, Melanie and Peggy Russell, Susan Aroni, a number of people helped. Barbara Kelly stepped up and worked very closely with these families, and they are doing quite well from what I understand. The Syrian family, the father is a florist, and he has been able to practice his profession. The Afghan family, I understand, just moved recently to Salem and bought a home. The Congolese family is, there's still some of the family here in Gloucester, and others are in neighboring towns. And they are doing quite well. Again, it is because of the support they receive from people on Cape Ann who stepped forward at a time where help was desperately needed.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anyone else have a question? Yes, sir?
Less of a question. My name is Andy Allen, Director of Adult Education, including ESOL services at Wellspring. And I guess I wanted to speak to the volunteers and just let everyone know specifically. Sure. There you go. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. So I just wanted to speak to the volunteers as well as the representatives to urge people to use the community-based organizations that are present in specifically in Gloucester and Greater Cape Ann. Besides ESOL, we have education services. We offer services in homeless prevention. We offer services in housing for individuals living with children under the age of 21, career pathways, and perhaps doing that in a quicker fashion in some ways will help us collaborate together and work not just with the volunteers, but work with the families as well, moving them along the continuum to success.
That's great. Thank you. That's great information. Are there any other questions? And please remember, you have actually Alice's email because, as she said, she's been sending so many. So if you think of something that you didn't think of this evening, you can just shoot an email and we will take care of it. I'm supposed to see if there's any tech questions. I don't know how I do that.
Any what?
Any questions from
online?
Online? We haven't gotten any. No questions. Okay. So I think everybody's thinking, and it's all a lot of information, and we're just so thankful that you came out tonight, and we thank Reverend Derek Van Goulden for sharing his church and hosting us, and also $10,000, that's pretty great, and so we thank you for that and for telling relatives and friends and keeping this alive so that more and more people will contribute, because we do need a lot more money. Did I miss anybody who might be thinking about something?
May I make one comment?
Yeah, sure.
Just an apology. I blanked on Adam Kokuro's name, and I apologize, Adam, for that. But it came back. It's senior moment.
All right. So, if that's it, sure. Come up. Can you come up so that everyone can hear?
I'm Val Roberts-Toller, pastor at Gloucester United Methodist Church. I just wondered, do we have any liaison with the schools? I know we don't know what age kids are coming or whatever, but is there someone in the Gloucester School Department that's working with us or that we could reach out to?
I do know that the schools have been very supportive in the past. Is anybody here who can answer that question? Who's involved with it? Yes. Melanie?
Okay, sorry, hi. Chris Castle, Gloucester Public Schools. Just want to encourage anyone, if you do know of any families that need support with central registration, any information, any access to community resources, we are here to help and support any of the families as well as enroll the students in Gloucester Public Schools and help them with anything that they need to meet their educational needs. Great. We're located at 2 Blackburn Drive. Again, my name is Chris Castle, and anything we can do to help support families and students, we're here for you. Thank you.
Thank you, that's wonderful. Anyone else, please?
Hi, Sandy Lorgan of Rockport. How many people are we talking about? Do we have any idea how many people?
Do we know how many people?
So, we would love if you could start with one family, right? And the family sizes range from 3 to 8, I think is my largest, but we do have a place for the 8. So we're happy to give you more, but I think that needs to be a decision of the group.
My other question is, excuse me, does Catholic Charities work with any other immigration organizations in the Boston area? Or is the Catholic Charities the only one doing the Afghan refugees from Massachusetts?
Yes, so there are multiple resettlement agencies, 5 in Massachusetts, but that's a total of 11 offices. And so Catholic Charities is doing this work in Boston, and there's groups in Springfield, Worcester, and then another 2 groups in the Boston area that do this, the International Institute of New England and Refugee and Immigrant Assistance Center. And then Jewish Family Services of Metro West is Framingham. And we're partnered pretty closely with Jewish Family Services and also Combined Jewish Philanthropies and Jewish Council on Community Relations. So this is a real effort amongst all of us. But only resettlement agencies can receive the Afghans. And so there's, like I said, 11 physical sites, but it's 5 national organizations here.
Okay, thank you.
Hope that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Thank you. So we do want to be respectful of your time, and it is 8 o'clock. And again, we thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. I just want to say that the other forms ran out. Okay. Didn't you send them by email?
I did.
Yeah, so also we, Reverend Alice did send in the last reminder about the meeting, there is the form for signing up, and there is the form that explains the different things that you could volunteer for. So if you weren't able to physically get one, go back to your email and you can print it out. So thank you so much again for coming out, and we will be in touch, and please keep in touch with us and ask anything you need to know. Thank you.
If you completed a query request form, please see me and hand me the query request form and show me your identification. Thank you.
I'm like, I want to hire her. I said to her, she needs to come with me to every single moment. I haven't budgeted enough time. That's made me so mad that I have to pull off at the restaurant.